Welcome back, everyone. Today we are delving into the story of the Night Stalker, Richard Remiraz. Richard Remiraz was born on February 29, 1960, and grew up in El Paso, Texas. Remiraz stated that he was physically mistreated by his father and that he had several concussions at a young age. It is said that he suffered from epileptic seizures as a result of one particularly serious injury. Remiraz spent a lot of time with his older cousin Miguel, a Vietnam veteran, as a means of escaping his abusive father. Sadly, Miguel's impact wasn't all that superior to that of his father. Miguel had sexually assaulted, mistreated, and even severed the bodies of multiple Vietnamese women when he was in Vietnam. Horrifyingly, he possessed the photographic proof to support his claims. Additionally, Remiraz saw his cousin shoot his own wife to death when he was just 13 years old. Remiraz changed quickly after the shooting, going from a fearful and mistreated young guy to a sulky, tough young man. Remiraz's life took a bad turn when he started to become interested in Satanism and developed a drug addiction.
A Satanist admits to being evil.
Do you admit to being evil, Richard?
We are all evil in some form or another, are we not?
Even worse, because Miguel had been declared not guilty of the murder due to insanity, he was nonetheless influenced by his cousin. In the end, Miguel was only institutionalized for 4 years before being discharged. Remiraz began breaking into houses around this time. He moved to Los Angeles after dropping out of high school. He kept committing crimes and was briefly imprisoned for car theft. For a long time, Remiraz's first murder was thought to have occurred on June 28, 1984. He then murdered 79-year-old Jenny Vinco. Remiraz not only stabbed and sexually assaulted his victim, but he also slashed her throat so deeply that she was nearly decapitated. However, decades after his arrest in 1985, Remiraz was linked by DNA evidence to the murder of a 9-year-old girl on April 10, 1984, months before the Vinco murder. But he was not charged with the crime. Later that evening, he shot and murdered Tsai Lian Yu, a second victim. Remiraz killed 64-year-old Vincent Zazara and his 44-year-old wife, Maxine, just over a week later. It was at this terrifying moment that Remiraz started to develop his signature style of attack. He would first shoot and kill the husband before attacking and stabbing the wife. However, the most horrific aspect of his murder of Maxine was that he had gouged out her eyes. Remiraz would haunt and kill more people in California for months at a time, instilling fear in the hearts of people throughout the state. He then paused for 8 months before resuming his killings. The majority of the deaths occurred in the Los Angeles area during home invasions. Remiraz's victims were frequently sexually assaulted and beaten, and satanic symbols were discovered at many of the crime scenes. The killer, known as the Night Stalker, incited fear that led to a spike in gun sales. In the end, a fingerprint was found, which helped identify Remiraz. 6 days after his last known murder, on August 30, 1985, Remiraz's name and picture were made public. The next day, a man in East Los Angeles reported seeing Remiraz and calling the police. After a chase, Remiraz attempted to steal an automobile but was stopped by a group of people and beaten until police arrived. Remiraz was found guilty of 13 counts of murder after his arrest. In addition to the murder charges, authorities charged him with several rapes, assaults, and burglaries. He was sentenced to death nearly 2 months later, with the judge stating that his crimes demonstrated cruelty, callousness, and viciousness beyond any human understanding. Remiraz never expressed regret, and after being sentenced, he said, "Big deal." Death always went with the territory.
Big deal. Death always went with the territory. I'll see you in Disneyland.
Thanks for sticking around. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Stay safe.